The story begins on a freezing highway, where an office bus is transporting a group of employees to a skiing resort. Along the way, the bus gets into an accident, and everyone on it passes away. After dying, all of the employees wake up in a blank space, where they form lines to prepare for reincarnation. Among these employees is a man called Arihito, who looks around and realizes that all his coworkers passed away with him. He is greeted by a receptionist, who gives him a phone and tells him to ask a guild for a job once he has reincarnated. Although he doesn't completely understand, the woman pushes him into a new world, in a place called Labyrinth Country. The country was built during medieval times, so Arihito looks extremely out of place with his office clothes among the common folk. He visits the guild to get a job, where he finds one of his former co-workers, Shiramiya. She registers for a job as a shrine maiden and turns around to leave. She encounters a woman called Elidia, who asks her to join her party. Shiramiya explains that she's new to the world, so Elidia nods since she knows about the new reincarnation. However, she explains that her abilities as a vanguard make it difficult for rearguards to keep up with her, so she needs a new teammate. Watching her try to recruit Shiramiya, some bystanders begin to make fun of Elidia. Although they think she is strong, they tell her that her team would never work because Elidia has a strange condition. Despite their discouragement, Shiramiya accepts her offer, so Elidia smiles and leaves with her. Then, the receptionist asks Arihito if he wants to register. She introduces herself as Luisa and explains that in this country, a person is not allowed to enter their labyrinth unless they are a registered seeker. Arihito understands her words, but he asks her to explain more about the country itself. Luisa smiles, explaining that the people who die and reincarnate are sent to Labyrinth Country to live as seekers. Together with the world's native people, it is the seeker's job to explore the labyrinth. Realizing that he had truly died, Arihito gets a headache from the shock of this new world. Concerned, Luisa asks if he needs a healer, but he reassures her he's fine. He then asks her about the registration, so Luisa explains that he has a blank job description on his phone. She asks Arihito to fill in the job description that he thinks is best for him, explaining that their country lets everyone perform the tasks they are most suited for. Arihito nods, thinking that he should pick a job that is in high demand in this country. Luisa smiles and waits for him to think it over. Recalling his previous life, Arihito thinks about his young boss, Igarashi, who used to make him overwork all the time. Forced to obey his corporate master, the poor man was stressed by her ramblings all the time. Now, in this world, he has gotten the chance to choose whatever job he wants, so he decides to do something relaxing for his own sake. Suddenly, Igarashi appears behind him, startling the poor guy. She gets annoyed by his reaction and says that the medieval world feels like a giant cosplay party to her. Still, she accepts her fate since there's nowhere else to go. Igarashi also makes a casual comment that she wasn't expecting to hunt monsters, which surprises Arihito since he knows nothing about them. She explains that defeating monsters is actually an important job given to seekers in this world. She warns him to pick his job and party very carefully, or else he could lose his life in the dangerous labyrinth. Then, she wonders what job Arihito has picked. From her time as his manager, Igarashi is used to relying on him for help. She shyly hopes that he can pick a job that would synergize with her class, so Arihito starts sweating bullets, thinking that he's going to become her punching bag in his new life. As he asks what job she picked, Igarashi notes that he's still speaking to her in formal terms. She feels upset that he's being so distant, hoping that they could get closer. However, she swallows her pride and refuses to say it out loud. She tells Arihito that her job is Valkyrie, so she can wield swords and spears along with spirit magic. He's surprised by the number of abilities she picked, but she thinks that having multiple roles could save both her life and job in this unpredictable world. She also tells Arihito to ensure he picks different roles to avoid getting replaced by someone else. He thanks her for the advice, saying that he'll be careful when joining a team. Igarashi is surprised by his distant response since she expected him to form a team with her. However, Arihito is denser than a rock, so he keeps missing her hints. Eventually, she gets disappointed and leaves. After she leaves, Arihito wonders why she was behaving so strangely. Luisa then reminds him that he still hasn't picked a job. To help him decide, she explains that he can earn contribution points through his job. In their world, seekers can earn points by collecting valuable treasure, defeating strong monsters, and saving other seekers. Aside from acting as a source of of money. Contribution points are also used to rank seekers on the labyrinth leaderboard. After explaining this, Louisa tells Arihito that his phone will record all of his actions within the labyrinth. She reveals that a seeker's ranking is extremely important since it determines their status within the country. While high-ranked seekers can enjoy a luxurious life, lower-ranked seekers can essentially become broke and be forced to live in a stable. Hearing this, Arihito decides to take his job selection even more seriously. From the earlier incident, he overheard how about rearguards, so he asks if it's an in-demand job. Laoja nods, explaining that while rearguards are important roles, they receive less HP and defense than vanguard and other roles, so not many people can be a good rearguard. Because of this shortage, there's high demand for rearguards in most parties. After thinking about it, Arihito figures that rearguard is the best pick to avoid going jobless, wondering which special skills he should pick as a rearguard. He writes the word on the phone screen. Suddenly, the phone's screen flashes brightly, and Arihito's writing gets completely garbled. Louisa is surprised by this and takes a look at his phone. She puts on her glasses and concentrates hard, trying to understand what happened. In the end, she simply hands the phone back to Arihito and claims that his job request was successful. Naturally, Arihito realizes that she's only pretending to be in control and asks her what really happened. In a sheepish tone, Louisa tells him that normally, whatever a person writes is accepted by the application. This is the first time she has seen these garbled characters, so she has no idea if Arihito has received a proper rearguard role or not. She also warns him that the application might have given him some random abilities, realizing that he might never get into a party with random abilities. Arihito is completely stunned. Thankfully, Louisa takes some responsibility for his situation and gives him a free mercenary card so he can recruit a teammate for himself. Afterward, he looks at the phone in his hands to examine his abilities. He learns that he has a defense support skill, along with an ability called Rear View that allows him to see what's behind him. After some time, he thinks about spending some level up points on his recovery support and defense support abilities. He then decides to check the city store for potions and healing items before leveling up his recovery support. Eventually, he only levels up his defense support skill. After that, he visits the mercenary office. He asks the vice chief, Layla, what he can get with his mercenary ticket. She explains that he can get a demi-human servant with the ticket, so Arihito wonders if he can get a vanguard user. Layla tells him that she only has one vanguard at the moment, who happens to be a female lizardman. She tells him that this lizardman is a rogue who is capable of carrying decent equipment, so she would be enough for his first trip to the labyrinth. Hoping to test his skills soon, Arihito asks her to get the lizardman for him. While Layla leaves to fetch the demi-human, he wonders if the lizardman would look like a gross monster. To his surprise, the lizardman girl, called Derja, is actually a human-looking child. As Layla introduces her, she explains that Derja was once human, but she turned into a demi-human after dying in the dungeon. In their world, all seekers who die suffer the same fate. Once they transform into demi-humans, they lose their former personalities and the ability to talk. Now, they are only useful as slaves. Arihito feels bad about owning another person, but Layla reminds him that demi-humans don't have their own personalities anyway, so it's legal to use them. She also reveals that they can fight using their instincts, so he won't need to guide her for every fight. Arihito finally accepts her explanation and greets Derja, hoping to form a successful party with her. Still, while heading for the labyrinth, he decides he won't force the little girl to fight. After testing out his defense enhancement skills, he hopes to come back to the city. Soon, he reaches the entrance to the labyrinth's first level, called the Field of Dawn. Some experienced adventurers greet him, thinking that he looks similar to a Japanese Valkyrie who came here earlier. Arihito realizes that they're probably talking about Igarashi and figures that she has already formed a party. The seeker leader, called Reborn, explains that he rescues stranded seekers from the labyrinth for a living. Arihito returns his greeting, curious to know if the labyrinth is really as dangerous as it sounds. He explains that the dungeon has some real dangers, but as long as Arihito sticks to the low-level monsters, he'll be fine. However, he warns him to avoid named monsters at all costs. Arihito learns that aside from normal monsters, named monsters have special titles and carry powerful abilities. Anytime a named monster encounters a novice, it is automatically a death sentence for them. Reborn warns him to stay far away from named monsters, so Arihito thanks him for the advice. Reborn then tells him to contact him at any anytime if he needs help. He explains that many other search parties constantly patrol the dungeons, but they can occasionally miss some people. Arihito accepts all his advice, then heads down into the labyrinth with Derja. Inside, he finds a lush field filled with natural streams. After a little walking, he encounters a strange cotton ball that rolls up to him. Arihito checks his phone to see if it's a monster, but the cotton ball starts spinning at Mach speeds. Derja notices its movements immediately, so she draws her dagger while Arihito is distracted. Since the cotton ball is just a level 1 monster, Arihito doesn't feel worried. Suddenly, it shoots towards him at a blinding speed, but Derja blocks it with her dagger. The impact from the attack blows him to the ground, and he is shocked to see that the monster actually injured Derja. Despite her injuries, she continues to defend her master. As Derja's HP bar keeps going down, Arihito decides to make a move. He uses his defense support skill, which helps her completely block the cotton ball's attack. While the monster is being held back, he alerts Derja to attack it on his signal. He then attacks the monster with a slingshot, which gives her the chance to kill it with her dagger. Although Arihito feels happy with his victory, he gets upset by Derja's injuries. He asks her if they should leave to help her recover, but she shakes her head. Then, he apologizes to her and thanks her for protecting him, as Arihito promises to support her in the future. He hears a woman screaming in terror. After checking out the noise, he finds Igarashi and her teammates facing off against a powerful monster. Quickly, Arihito descends to help her, while Igarashi's teammates complain about their bad luck for encountering a named monster so soon. Suddenly, the named monster, called Redface, lunges towards Igarashi, and Arihito shouts at her to take cover. That was episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.
I heard that you addicted to them sand stone, girl.